Welcome to another episode of Walsh Wednesday, the Reflective Series. This week, our guest is musician Annie Scherer. On today's episode, we will talk about her early classical piano education, all the way to her recent album, Garden Bed. We also get to discuss her tips and tricks on promoting, her love for visual arts as well as her music, her recent win as the Times Union's Best Local Performer for the Capital Region, and even throw it back to her experience with PBS's Celebration of Music. You might just also hear a song live from her. All that and more happening right now. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Walsh Wednesday. Thank you so much for being here. And one thing's for sure, looking forward to the spring and summer ahead. The weather has been so nice, and it's been allowing for some great celebrations. So speaking about celebrations, some graduations, and a recent graduate, and somebody who's got a lot to celebrate with a number of different releases recently, and just named Times Union's Best Local Performer. We have Annie Scherer. Annie, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Doing all right. And I just want to say again, happy graduation. I know that you finished up in December, but you finally got the ceremony. That must feel pretty good, right?
Does feel good. Thank you. Yes. It's a relief.
Graduating in December, but not having the ceremony until now. What did that kind of feel like for you?
Well, graduating felt kind of anticlimactic. Things just kind of ended. And then going to graduation was kind of strange because it just felt like I picked up where I had left off. It was nice to have that closure with my school and my classmates and seeing everybody one last time. So I'm definitely glad I went. It's a relief. It's kind of crazy. It's been 4 years already.
Understandable. And you graduated from the College of St. Rose with a degree in music industry, just as I did and a couple other people on this show have done. It's a great program and definitely got a lot out of it. And one thing that we'll be talking about later that came out of that is Garden Bed, right? That was your senior project turned album, right?
Yeah, it was a little bit different. So I produced both of them completely, but I did all the mixing and mastering for my senior project. And there were two songs that were swapped out. Actually,
Interesting. Okay.
so it's a little bit different, the release versus my project. So
Understandable. There tends to be some changes
yeah,
from
a little more development, improvement, I would say.
Before we get into that, let's kind of like bring it back to the very beginning. How did you get started in music? What were those early inspirations that got you going on this path?
I realized that I loved music very early on. I grew up listening to a lot of old rock and roll classics, the Rolling Stones, Beatles, the Kinks, groups like that. And then I started taking piano lessons when I was 6. My sister had taken piano lessons when she was 6, and she's 2 years older than me. When I was 4 and I saw her taking lessons, I was told my parents, well, when I turn 6, I want to play piano too. And I did, and she wasn't very interested in it, but I was, and I performed classical piano basically until I went to college. That was my primary instrument for the longest time. And then I actually started writing very early too. I used to write kind of just jingles, like nothing ever complete. And then once I realized that I wanted to go into music, those jingles evolved into songs. And I was, I think, 11 when I started writing these full songs and gigging and teaching myself guitar. And yeah, so
No, very good for you. So you started gigging around 11?
yeah, I did open mics every once in a while. I mean, I had been performing classical piano since I was like 6 or 7. So I wasn't very good when I started. Like I think I got a guitar and I taught myself a few chords and then I just went out there and started doing it. And I hear them now and it's like not that good, but
We all
I
got
was
to start somewhere.
yeah.
No, but the fact that you did, that's awesome. Fact of getting out there and everything. Moving forward, a little closer to today, Garden Bed, that's your latest album.
Yeah.
And as we just said, some things got changed from the senior project to the actual final release. but still want to kind of talk about the story, the conception of that album, how that came to be. Where do those songs come from? And then if you could tell us some of that process of how you actually managed to put the album together.
Yeah, so Garden Bed is a series of songs that I wrote over the past 3 to 4 years. And when I put that album together, I was picking out of all the songs I had written, and I write songs all the time. So there was a lot, and I just kind of felt like these songs flowed together. I was mostly thinking of it like how I could create something that was sonically concise, not so much about lyrically. But then, kind of as I started recording things and putting it together, there kind of was like an underlying theme I realized of growth and knowing that time will heal things, kind of just like entering new beginnings, things like that. And I thought that the name Garden Bed was kind of fitting for all of those things. And Garden Bed comes from one of the first lines of Phases Grow, which is the third song on the track. So it was about a 3-month recording process and produced. This was the first time that I ever produced. I had never produced before, but due to COVID, I had plenty of time to kind of just experiment with new things and learn some of the technology, which I'm not a huge fan of learning new technology, but I think it worked out and I'm really happy with how it sounded. It was kind of really everything I was going for. So that is how it came to be.
It is a wonderful album, and you've gotten a good amount of buzz for it as well. Like, I've seen stuff from American Songwriter and other like high reputable magazines and forums and websites. So that must feel really cool to be getting that
Yeah.
recognition for this album.
Yes.
How
Yeah.
how'd that go about? Did you reach out to these places, or how did they come to find your stuff?
Well, actually, so I actually hired a PR firm, which was something I didn't really ever think I would be doing, but I found this PR firm and I submitted my music, and the guy who got back to me happens to be from upstate New York, and he was like, "Hey, I saw your song on the queue. It was like the first one, and I saw where you were from, and I really like your stuff." And then a few coincidences, I had known people who had been a part of this PR firm and they highly recommended them. So I went along with them. They were awesome. And they helped me out with some of these pitching. I mean, I did some of it myself too. But yeah, I mean, the American Songwriter one, that was super exciting. And then I think getting the article in the Times Union was really awesome. So yeah, a lot of good stuff came out of that. I'm really glad I did it.
No, that's definitely really cool. One thing's for sure, you just said you didn't think that you would ever find yourself actually enlisting a PR team, but now that you have, what would you say about the experience of like having a team behind you, having like people who are dedicated and trustworthy behind you and around you to make that happen? And not just from a, hiring a PR firm standpoint, but also just the people that you have in your life that keep you going.
Well, what's funny too about the PR firm is like I actually didn't even know what I was doing. I kind of just saw like artist submission at the site and I was like, "Oh, I'll submit my music." I didn't even know what I was doing. And then they got back to me. But it was really great to have a team behind me. I mean, I do a lot of everything on my own and it's a lot of work. So knowing, that this PR firm who have worked with really big artists, that they were willing to put me on their roster was very exciting, very reassuring. And in general, just when anybody is behind me in any way, it's the best feeling, even if somebody just says, "Hey, I like this song," it's like any support is just so appreciated, when it's your art and it comes from a place you don't even know, somewhere like your heart. It's really powerful when people support your art. So
Truly, as you said, reassuring. That was a very good way of putting it. And I feel like that's a thing that a lot of people don't quite recognize all the time is artists, sure, we create, we put stuff out there, but in order to put it out there and get it to those wider audiences, it takes a lot more than just one lone person can do. So it's always very awesome to see when an artist is able to take their muse and expand it and grow it with a wider audience. So honestly, kudos on all the exposure that this
yeah.
album has gotten. Yeah, no, definitely. You mentioned the Times Union. You had a article in there, but that is not the only awesome thing that has happened with the Times Union. For anybody who isn't aware, Times Union, it's a big newspaper in the capital region of New York. There's also the Times Union Center, which is also big performance venue, great arena. Also where we had our graduation ceremonies. But
Yeah.
and as we said at the beginning of this program, you were named Times Union's best local performer, technically 2021.
Yeah, 2021. I mean,
Okay.
I think kind of collective of last year, but
Yeah. That was my thing. It was like, was it technically awards for
I know it's
2020 or
like I didn't really
2021?
there wasn't a lot of performing last year.
But and that's interesting. But people found, including yourself, found different ways to still get yourself out there and promote. And I feel like that's what makes this such an incredible feat, because it is such a non-traditional kind of year. And the fact that you're able to make something like that happen, that's really awesome. Can you tell us about the experience of, going through that voting process? The fact that, there wasn't as much of your traditional performing. So like, tell us about how like you went through that and got to that point.
First, there was a nomination process. There's a big list of names on there. A lot of really awesome people that I know. So I think just being on that list right there is like very exciting to be narrowed down to that list, and then making it to the top 5. That was super exciting, and like my name was there with like Sawyer Fredericks and like Madison Vandenberg, which was like, all right, how can I possibly win this thing? Like, but the fact that I did, I mean, people were so supportive. I mean, I definitely like was really pushing for this. Like, it was such a opportunity just to be in the top 5, and just the support that I received from people I hadn't even like talked to in so long were like, oh, I voted for you, and that was just so sweet of them. And then when I won, that was super exciting. I mean, I just being among such talented musicians in this area who are like so well known is scary, but it's been an exciting year. So yeah, we'll see where that takes us.
Again, no, congratulations on that. That seems like a great opportunity. Great way to get your name out there. And then, as you said, reconnect with people, some people that you hadn't talked to in a while, and connect with brand new people. So that's great.
Yeah, yeah.
Now, one thing's for sure, you're no stranger to competitions such as these. One of them being Celebration of Music, which is something that we actually did together a while back. Now, this goes back to like what, 2018,
Yeah.
2018,
Yeah,
2019
a
that
long
we went through this
while ago.
process.
Yeah.
Yeah, still waiting for those episodes to air on PBS, but it's getting there.
Very patiently.
Yes, very patiently, but it was still a remarkable experience nonetheless. We also had another contestant on NGXB a few weeks back talking about his perspective on Celebration of Music. I want to get your perspective and your journey with it, from getting there to once you got there, once we were out there and working with everybody. Tell us your feelings and experience on that.
Wow, it's a long time ago. I guess like application, the auditioning process was really funny because I didn't remember sending my audition. Like um, one of our professors had recommended, oh, you guys should try out for this, and she sent a reminder email, and I saw it, and I was like, oh my gosh, what's this? This sounds awesome. Like, I'll submit to it. And then I went and I did the whole application. I got to the bottom, and it was like, you already submitted, and I didn't even remember doing it. So I was like, oh, like, okay, that's pretty cool, I guess. Like, just did all that work twice. But then, um, we went into this thing. It was kind of this long time coming, and like, um, I really kind of felt underprepared for it. It was just like I said, I had forgotten that I had sent this in, and it was this really amazing opportunity that was like, oh, they flew us out to LA, and I don't know, it just kind of seemed like, what are the odds they're going to pick me? Like, I already knew some of my classmates who had also submitted applications for it, and they're super talented. So I was like, why would they pick me? And then we were standing there. It was like this whole performance. We all sat in the back together, and then when they said my name, I was just totally caught off guard. Like I had barely like I really didn't prepare very well for it. I don't know, I just didn't think it would be me. Not that I like had my doubts. I don't know, I knew who I was up against. And then yeah, so that was really riveting. Definitely one of the best experiences, just hearing my name, you know. And then when we actually flew out to LA, that was really awesome. I love it out there. It's just so nice. So, an excuse to go out there and do this wonderful thing that came from my career in music was just awesome. And we got to meet some really, really great and talented people out there. Some, you know, we still somewhat keep in touch. We follow each other on social media. So, it was just an awesome experience, and Ethan was really great, really nice. And yeah, while I was out there, I definitely took advantage of having to fly out to LA, so I got to see some of my family. We did some fun things. We toured Paramount Pictures. It was really great. Definitely one of the highlights of my life so far.
That's nice. And it's only going to get better from here. That's for sure. It's just another paving stone for you. That's for sure. And it's a nice thing on the resume to be able to tell
It
people,
certainly
and
is. Oh my goodness. Yes.
helps open some doors. I don't know about for you, but as soon as I got that on my resume, a few more people started booking me, which was
Oh, me
nice.
too. Right at the top. Right at the top. Yeah.
Another thing that I wanted to talk to you about, you also have a passion for visual art. Specifically, I've seen stuff on your Instagram. You do a lot of like charcoal stuff and etchings and things like that of famous musicians I've seen in particular. You might do more than just that, but they come out so beautifully. Where
Oh, thank
where
you.
i- where did this all start and come from? Obviously, you can hear your influences in your music, but this is a way that you are showing your influences visually, which is really cool.
For one thing, well, my dad is an illustrator. He does like cartoons, things up that alley more. So it's very different style. He doesn't really do anything like I do, but I think he definitely had an impact in my interest in visual arts. So I think I saw this artist somehow, I think on like Instagram, one of my favorite musicians, I really don't remember which one, but had shared this girl's art, and she did a ton of portraits. I checked out her page and I was like, wow, she is really, really good. And this was back in, I don't even know, middle school, early high school. And I saw what she was doing and I was like, I kind of want to try that. Like, I kind of want to, I mean, I always loved doing art. I always loved art, but specifically kind of figuring out what I'm good at. So I started trying these portraits. First, I started with pencil, just kind of like shading and practicing with that. And then I switched to charcoal, you know, which is a lot more powerful. It's a lot darker, more, I guess, like upfront, and I loved it. So I definitely like felt very passionate about it. So I started doing all these different drawings. I tried different other like mediums. I tried just like colored pencil. I tried just like pen, things like that. And charcoal is definitely my favorite. So I would just draw musicians who I look up to. Sometimes, I mean, I drew actresses, and it takes a long time to draw these. I mean, and it takes a lot of motivation because on top of working and recording music, writing, it's like, where do I find the time? You know, so I don't know. I think there's like a feeling of I want to complete this. And then the feeling that comes from completing it is totally worth taking that block of time. So yeah, I do it when I can. I've drawn a lot of people. I think my favorite is, I don't know, either like Keith Richards, which is the most recent one I just drew, Amy Winehouse, Bob Dylan, just like really like a lot of classics, I think, you know, people that one could recognize. So yeah, it's kind of like my little side art gig.
No, and it's really impressive because you do them so well. It's
Thank
very
you.
realistic and it's a gorgeous portrait that you make of all these people. So
Thank
obviously,
you. Yeah, I taught myself, so it's taken a long time to get to this point. Like it wasn't just like I mean, I have some of my early stuff hanging up downstairs. Yeah, practicing over and over again. I've kind of figured out my method going about it.
no, that's very cool. Hear that, everybody? She's a Renaissance woman. She can do music. She can do visual art. It's
Oh my
all wonderful, and you
goodness.
can check it all out. It's very nice. So I think this kind of gets us to the next point where you wanted to perform a song for us, which is really awesome. And this
Yeah.
is a song off of Garden Bed. correct? This is one of the songs on it called "You Know." Before you get into the song, can you give us a little background on the song?
This song, this is the only one on the album that I didn't produce. I wrote it, I think, about 2 years ago now, and I was kind of just like reflecting on a time in my life where I just like had feelings for someone, and it wasn't really mutual, but I kind of found myself like going back to them, and then I don't know, it was kind of like a back and forth where I thought it was something and then it wasn't, and it was like, okay, well, this is just disappointing.
Mm.
And so I wrote this song, kind of just like reflecting on that. And I wrote it originally on acoustic guitar. I wanted it to be acoustic, but then I don't know, I experimented it with electric and that kind of fit better. So that's
There you
what
go.
became of it. Yeah.
Awesome. Great. You ready
Yeah.
to show it off for us?
You know how much I do still love you. Yes, you do. And I'd stay if you had to. But you left me blue when you went away. And I still hold you to an expectation despite all your bad behavior. And though things are changing, I still want you, baby, anyway. I don't want to cave in, clear my thoughts and clean the mess we made. You know that what you are is magnetic charge. I can't get far. And I don't know why you even tried. It's been a while since you were here. And though things are changing, I still want you, baby, anyway. I don't want to cave in, clear my thoughts and clean the mess we made. You always know what to say, but I'm not gonna break. And I lost count of my mistakes, but you won't make the grade. And I still see you in brilliance. I meet you at a distance. And though things are changing, I still want you, baby, anyway. I don't want to cave in, clear my thoughts and clean the mess we made. You know. You know.
Wonderful, wonderful live performance that we had from Annie Scherer of her song "You Know." That was very, very nice, Annie.
Thank you.
No, very, very good. So I think that brings us to a wonderful wrap of this episode. Annie, thank you so much for being on this episode of Walsh Wednesday.
Thank you. This is wonderful.
Congratulations to you on everything that you have going on, and we hope for all the best moving forward, and we can't wait to keep seeing and hearing more from you. Is there anything you want to say just to wrap up to anybody? Any final remarks?
Big thank you to anybody who's listening, and big thank you to everybody who's been checking out my music and streaming. I really, really appreciate your support. It means the world to me. So
There you go. And if you've never checked out her stuff and this is the first time hearing her, we will have links to her social medias in the description to make sure that you can get there as easily as possible. Again, Annie, thank you so much for being on. This is wonderful. Since doing this interview, Annie has launched her Indiegogo campaign, where she started selling merch and physical copies of her music. She's also got some really fun shirts and stickers if anyone is interested. The Indiegogo campaign, along with her website and social media, are all linked in the description. As always, I'm Connor Walsh, and I'm glad we get to spend some time.